You have probably seen all of the ads on TikTok showing you that FastClient is a much faster client than TLauncher, and that TLauncher is spyware and nobody should use TLauncher. Thus, they should move over to FastClient, which is much better than TLauncher. Well, I'm here to test that. In today's video, we'll check out how FastClient compares to the old and trusted TLauncher. What modes and what features does it have over TLauncher? And if you should really consider making the switch. For the computer I'll be using, it is an Asus laptop with an i5 7200U, a GeForce 940MX, 8GB of DDR4 RAM, and a 248GB SSD. It is kind of the perfect candidate to test this, as it doesn't have much power to give. It is currently running Windows 10 IoT Enterprise. We're using the Hellzerg optimizer and also the Chris Titus tool. So that means that Windows in this scenario will not affect our performance numbers. Before and after each test, the computer was fully shut down, holding Shift while clicking the shutdown button to make sure that fast startup doesn't affect our results. I will also be using my phone to record the screen on the computer to make sure that OBS doesn't impact our performance. TLauncher is Java. It has always been pure Java, meaning that it uses next to no CPU usage, but it does use around 400 megabytes of RAM. But RAM here is kinda irrelevant since Minecraft also has only a couple gigabytes allocated, not the full 8 gigabytes to play with. However, there is a really important thing I have to tell you about FastClient. The second I opened the app and saw the interface, I almost crashed out. Because you're claiming to be a fast client, to be a better client than a Java executor, which is TLauncher, and you're using a web view? Come on, man. Like, you could do so much better than that. You could have coded the absolute bare minimum client just to launch it and just launch the web view when you click settings or something. But you have to make the main launcher a web view, and then you're claiming to be fast. That's just bullshit. I forgot to add here, but FastClient uses about 200 megabytes of RAM. That's 100 megabytes less than TLauncher. But what FastClient does is use about 5 to 8% CPU, meaning that your game has less CPU to work with. It is much better to have like 300 megabytes of RAM usage with 0% CPU than 5 to 8% CPU with 200 megabytes of RAM. I would take even a gigabyte of RAM over 5 to 8% CPU because Minecraft always has just a set amount of allocated RAM. Speaking of RAM allocation, when I set up FastClient, like the profile on it, because it's called profiles for some reason, I saw that it allocated 3 gigabytes of RAM. Sure, Minecraft will run at 3 gigabytes of RAM. You can run a mod or two on 3 gigabytes of RAM. But you have 8. Come on, man. TLauncher allocates 5,183 megabytes. It allocates 5 gigabytes of RAM on a 8 gigabyte system. That's how you should do it. You should not allocate 3 gigabytes of RAM. Come on, man. That's just fucking hell. You're claiming to be fast, but you allocate 3 gigabytes of RAM. Like, seriously, man, come on. It's not that hard to set it to 5 gigabytes. It's not that hard. Before we get into Minecraft, we'll check for updates in Java, just to make sure that we have the latest version of Java installed on our computer. I will also be using the same settings on both FastClient and TLauncher, Same render distance, simulation distance, and other miscellaneous settings. I will also copy all of the mods that FastClient has pre-installed on my TLauncher installation, just to make everything fair. And just for a bonus, I'll leave in the TLauncher API for skins. I'm actually pretty surprised that FastClient has allocated 3GB for a lot of these mods. 3GB is probably not enough. As you can see on my secondary monitor, FastClient remains open, using up 15% CPU, doing absolutely nothing, while TLauncher hides away and reappears only when you quit out the game. Okay. What I don't like about FastClient is that it bundles two SMPs that I literally didn't ask for. I don't want these two servers to be on my computer. I don't want them. TLauncher does have recommended servers, but it only has them at the top of the screen, and it only says, don't know what to play? Check these out. It doesn't shove them down your throat like FastClient. So let's hop into Minecraft world and... okay. FastClient gets about 110-140 frames per second. That's not so good if you can tell. Now if I look at Task Manager, my theories are confirmed. The FastClient launcher uses 20% CPU usage for absolutely no reason. It should not use 20% of the CPU while the game is running. Let's hop onto the same world on TLauncher. Okay. You can clearly see here that in TLauncher we get about 200 frames per second, while in FastClient we get 130-140. Do I need to say anything else? Like, seriously. Now, a lot of people will say, use FastClient because TLauncher is spyware. But if you go into the TLauncher website to download it and click on the Linux file, you can clearly see there's a .debian installer and there's just a pure jar file. If you download the pure jar file and decompile it, the code is clean, like there's no spyware in here. Fun fact, the jar file also runs on Windows because it's just Java again. Now, a lot of people might say, well, FastClient should be safe. I mean, if TLauncher is safe, then FastClient should be too. Okay, when I ran the app to any run, it almost immediately popped up with malicious activity. But I'm no qualified security researcher to tell you about it. However, when I ran that through the Kaspersky Threat Intelligence portal, it was signed by two itzz.mirceaq. Now, if you don't know about companies, usually companies end in limited or CO or in Romania, SRL. I fucking almost cried out when I saw that it was a Romanian company who signed the executable for the installer. So I searched it up on Google and I got a phone number and the company is owned by a Belgian dude. That's crazy. So let's call them.
Abonatul apelat are telefonul închis sau nu se află în area de acoperire a rețelei mobile. Vă rugăm reveniți.
So what is the conclusion of this video? Well, don't use FastClient. It's pretty obvious by now, but it doesn't give you any more frames. If you just use the mods that it comes pre-installed with, you will get the same result or even the better result in TLauncher. As for if I should trust if it's safe, well, no. It's most likely spyware or some sort of malicious program, as it should not be using 20% CPU while playing the game, and well, anyone flagged it malicious. As for me, I'll personally be sharing all of these videos with my friends to help spread awareness that, well, FastClient does nothing more plus than just pre-install a couple of mods. It's not that hard to go on Modbrand and download the mods yourself and apply them. I will even leave the links in the description to download all of the mods that came in the world that I tested the launchers with. Now, some people might say, well, what about graphics? I want to play with top-of-the-line shaders. Well, if I wanted to play some graphically intensive games, I would just play on my Xbox, not play fucking Minecraft.